Good morning to all. This is our ninth delivery of our class called Distribution Channels, and this pertains to our 10 sessions course, Traditional Marketing Applied to the Online Marketing. All right, so this will be our ninth class. We have only one more session to go for this class, and we're still reviewing the different concepts of traditional marketing applied to digital marketing. We'll look today at the different channels that intervene in the distribution chain to bring products from the manufacturer to your customers. Okay, so basically that's what we're doing. So let's just start with a definition here. And channels of distribution indicate routes or pathways through which goods or services flow, or more, from producers to consumers. Okay, so basically it looks at, from the moment the raw material is transformed into a product and it goes to the manufacturer, and then later on is distributed to the customers via retailers, distributors, the different channels that exist in the whole in this whole chain. All right, so first we're going to talk about POS, and POS are direct sales, and these have existed way before e-commerce existed, and it's existed for as long as commerce has existed. Okay, so it's always been there, and it's always been present. And basically we could simply define it as the interactions that happen face to face, the salesperson with the customer, just like that. But these POS sales or direct sales also have existed in different forms, and even before the internet, such as say catalog sales, phone sales. Those are probably the most typical scenarios, other than the direct sales face to face. We've seen the infomercials on TV and whatnot. Now what we'll do is I will see the online marketing tools to better manage patterns for your consumer shopping behavior and data, to better deliver these services and products, to them. And that's what we'll see next, is how we can use and leverage the online marketing and the digital marketing to get those products and services to your customers. Now, the distributors are those who, take the massive amount of product and then they get it to the retailers. Okay, so they play an important role on the distribution channel models that exist nowadays, even today. Okay, usually the distributors are in charge of the transportation and the logistics, so their economic muscle has to be like pretty big, pretty strong. This is a huge task, and they must be present everywhere they are expected to be. Okay, so for instance, if we're talking about Coca-Cola, like Coca-Cola can be in any city and any town anywhere around the globe, and that city might not have a big grocery store or a great restaurant, but Coca-Cola has to be there, even in the little corner of the smallest store you can ever imagine, or the smallest restaurant that there is. You will probably find like a Coke or a Pepsi soda, pretty much anywhere around the globe. So like the transportation and the distributors have this huge task of making sure that these goods just get to everywhere they're expected to be. Now, in some industries, for instance, like in the book industry and the author industries, for writing books, the distributors, they do get like a big percent or big commission of the sales. So sometimes, for what I know, it's been around 60%. Now the author of the book, for instance, only get maybe like 8 to 10%. Now, if we would change that, and if the author of the book would directly sell to their consumer, well, then it will create an opportunity to increase their revenue, because a big chunk of this is going to the distributors, which is not a bad thing. I mean, they're just doing what they're supposed to, and they're charging for it because it has a big expense. But what we're trying to focus here is that the online marketing and the digital marketing platforms have created a new way to bring products from the manufacturer to the final consumer. And that's what we're focusing on today, is kind of trying to bring that perspective for you as you have a business and you're trying to get your products, and how you can get into this space, and how could that benefit you. Now, if you would like to just be a distributor, let's say to bring the books that everybody else writes into like the different bookstores and so forth, well, then you will need a big economic muscle. I mean, there's gonna be like big barriers of entry, financial muscle. You will need to have a huge negotiation power, and not everybody has that. And that's the reason why internet has changed things since it became available. And if we apply the same example, we take the same example that we just used as far as like the books and the authors of books. The ebooks have brought a whole new possibility. You can buy books online. You can, buy digital downloads of books, and you can just read them on your laptop. They don't even need to be sent to your, personal house or to your office. You can just download and read them online, and go from one device to another device and continue reading from where you left off. Okay, now the ebooks has been interesting because when it first came out, people still thought that wasn't going to be very successful because people like to kind of make notes on their books, and people like to kind of have the smell of a good book, an old book, and so forth, which is still really nice, and it still has value for different type of books, I would guess. If you're reading like a Harry Potter or like a classic story, you probably want to have that book in your hand and read that in a different way. But if you're reading a book, in my opinion anyways, and you can probably not coincide with my opinion, is that if you are reading a book about the management, about motivation, any other nonfiction topic book, well, you probably don't need to have it in your hands. Maybe you can just read it from your device and then just get the information you need and accomplish the purpose. So anyway, so the point being is that retail POS sales and the retail marketing is being affected by how we can sell things online, and how culturally things are changing, because culturally is being accepted now that adults are also reading ebooks, in big quantities, and they consume that product in that form, where in the past it used to be that maybe it was thought that only the younger ones will be actually reading ebooks. Now, what this brings is an opportunity for an increased income or stream revenue for anybody that writes books, for instance, or the ones that are recording music. If we can extrapolate this example to other industries as well. And basically what happens is that they're not distributors. Okay, all the distributors are just there. Like, say, if you look at Amazon and you are selling your books on Amazon, well, Amazon will be your distributor, but the percentage is just way, way lower. Okay, so that means that you get to keep more. But if you happen to have your own website, then you don't need to pay that commission to anybody else for distributing that book. You just need a platform, which can be done, but it's just more like trying to open that mindset that things can be done that couldn't be done before. And this is a great opportunity for anybody that wants to get into the digital business or the digital space with their business. Now we're going to talk about the storefront. In many cases, it's referred as POLs or point of sale. Okay, where typically for like storefronts or brick and mortar stores, as I like to call them, the prices are based on gross profit margins or gross profit percentages. Okay, and the way it works is, if you happen to be the retailer, then you get prices at wholesale that you buy from a wholesaler. Then you mark them up at a particular cost or a particular percentage that you need to make in order to pay your bills and turn a profit. And and that's basically how the prices are set. Now, usually the negotiation power is on the retailer side if they have a big audience. So for instance, if you are making products and you're selling that to a retailer, well, you will be the wholesaler, so you would expect that your retailer is going to have to mark the products up, and typically they will double the price. Okay, or sometimes it's like 2.5 times more, depending on the industry. So I guess I can't generalize like that, but to kind of put it in simple terms, if you expect that your cost is $5, then they're probably going to be selling it for like $12.50. Okay, just kind of to put it in perspective. Now it depends on the demographics, the area, the competition, and so forth. So maybe the product might be sold like between $7 and maybe $20, depending on the market and depending on the product and industry. Now, if you're trying to sell that to not just a mom and pop store, you're trying to sell that to like a chain of a store. Let's say you're trying to get your products into like Kohl's, Target, Walmart, you know, and like those big chains, Kmart, you know, and anything like that. Then you're gonna have to deal with the negotiation power. You know, one of the 5 forces of Porter's that we discussed previously, and that is the negotiation power of the retail on the retailer side. Okay, so if the distributor in this case is going to be the chain of stores, and you're going to get a specific space on the shelf with your new product, well, who do you think is going to set the conditions for payment, for placement, for delivery, for frequency, and the characteristics that this product is going to have to meet, and the criteria to be able to satisfy these stores? Well, it's probably going to be on the other side, right? The negotiation power is going to be on the retailer side and not on your side, because you're probably just a smaller wholesaler, okay? Unless all of a sudden you turn out to be like a huge manufacturer of something that everybody wants to have, then you get the power. But that's something that you will need to consider if you're trying to get into that space. Marketplaces online. Now we're talking about online and digital world here. So we are talking about having being present in the marketplace. You're trying to sell your products via a marketplace, and it has a pros and cons. And we also talk about e-commerce having its own pros and cons. But being in the marketplace, well, I mean, it has some good things. I mean, they're in the internet. They are the internet supermarkets, and we're talking about like Amazon, eBay, Etsy, plus a lot more. But those are the ones that probably everybody is familiar with. And if you can get to sell your products on those sites, in Amazon, eBay, or Etsy, in those marketplaces, well, you're exposing yourself to like millions of people, lots of traffic, instantly you are there. Now, there's some other platforms that are paid, like Wix or BigCommerce or Shopify and more, okay, that are marketplaces that exist where you can also put your products and sell. Now, there's another thing that is positive. I would give it as the ease of use. The curve of learning is small, and right away you can just have your product in front of millions of consumers. Now, the negatives is that you have to pay a commission. The commission is still lower than what is the cost associated with having a brick and mortar store, like those commissions that you would pay to a traditional conventional distributor. But you still have to pay a commission, so that's a little more, less money in your pocket at the end. And then you are also competing with competitors with your own products. So let's say you put an item on Amazon and you're selling let's say boxes for taking pictures. Well, you're probably gonna be competing with also Amazon's white label brand, where somebody's already making, has a deal with Amazon, and they're selling the same kind of boxes, and they're probably featured because they have the Amazon brand on it, and people don't know yours, right? Now, the one thing here is that you're also competing with these other same products and the same space, so people can right away can start looking at other boxes, and there will be suggestions for the same type of product and different brands and different pricing. So all of a sudden they're focusing in a bigger array of products and not only on your product. So I mean, that can make things a little more challenging, but still you can succeed if you have a good, unique product. Okay, but these are things that you need to be aware as you're trying to get into the marketplace space. Now, the lack of your brand, the marketplace is just selling products. They're not selling your brand. They're not focusing on your brand. They're just selling products, and they just want to sell them all. Okay, that's how the marketplaces make money, especially by selling just anything they can, and they're gonna try to push anything they can to the consumer's hands. As long as they have it, they will get it out. Okay, so I mean, that's a little bit of a challenge for you. Again, unless you have a very specific product, then you have more chances to succeed. Now we're gonna talk about e-commerce. Okay, and here you'll see the pictures of like a superstore on the right hand side, which is more like an e-commerce, and a couple of different pictures on the left. One is WordPress, which is a CRM, customer relationship management platform, but it's grown way more than that. That allows you to create websites, and when you add a simple plugin or additional piece of code that is called WooCommerce. I mean, I say you add a simple piece of code, but I mean, it's simple to add it. It's just more complex than that, but it's really easy to use. Then all of a sudden you can have an e-commerce store like in literally minutes. if you set up a website on WordPress platform, which is being used like worldwide, more and more, and is really, really, really popular, and there's tons of support for that right now. But we'll focus on the e-commerce pros and cons. So the pros is that you can have better margins as you do the direct sale, but you have no distribution fees to pay. You control your prices, okay? You control your own margins, so nobody will tell you what to sell for. Plus, your product is alone right there, in the sense that you're not competing with the same product with other people. Right away, yes, online you are competing with others, but when you get customers to get into your site and they like your brand, they know you a little more, then they will be just looking at your products, and you probably get better chances of selling it. Now, you control your margins and your prices, like I said, and you can also get more information about your customers' behavior. Remember, we have talked about customers insight and customer behavior, that class from before, and the same thing, by being able to bring people to your own site and to your own e-commerce, you can actually see those patterns and where are the customers coming from, what referred, what site were they before they got to yours, how did they get referred to your site. You can learn what worked, what didn't work. Maybe they came from a blogger. Maybe you can establish new relationships and partnerships to try to bring more people from the sources that are actually working. So you can put your dollars to work where they actually bring you, traffic and customers. So you can learn these likes and dislikes from customers and their shopping patterns, and see what they did or what they didn't do. So we'll give you a chance to improve those pieces of information that you need in your site to make it work. Now, negatives, well, definitely you have to set it up. You have to have a little technical knowledge as far as this. Now, it is not impossible, depends on your technical abilities, but again, you don't have to do it all. You can just hire a professional. You can partner with someone that is a little more tech savvy than you are. Maybe you are the marketing person, well, talk to someone else in your team. Maybe you have a programmer right there, or maybe you have someone that is very inclined that likes to learn and research, and all of a sudden they can build their own WordPress site really simply using a theme, and then just adding the plugin for WooCommerce, and all of a sudden, boom, you have an e-commerce site. It really isn't that difficult. That's not the purpose of the lesson, but I mean, yeah, there's a curve of learning, but once you have it, you have completely control over it, 100%. And now you will have to probably spend a lot more time and try to build your brand, your name. But if you have followers, if you have a critical mass behind your business, then they will get to your site a little easier. So you again need to create, grow, and monetize. Okay, so you create first, you grow next, and then you monetize, not the other way around. So there's times where it's better to go one way first, maybe the marketplace, and later to your e-commerce, depending on what it is that you're trying to accomplish. If you're only selling products or you're selling, more than that. The next thing here I want to talk to you is, the push and pull techniques that have existed for getting products out to the consumer's hands on the distribution channel. So we have the push and the pull techniques, okay? And the push and the pull, well, the push is the one that is looking to get all products from these manufacturers through their distribution channels. And traditionally, they push everything they can. They use coupons, incentive prices they produce, huge amount of merchandise and inventory, and then they try to get it out to everywhere they can. Now that's the traditional. Now the pull technique is the one that is geared toward consumers. The consumers will tell you what is that they need, when they need it, and how they need it, and then the manufacturers then are producing these goods with already a set demand in place. You can also figure out better your sales projections, as you know what your sales are going to be, the quantities that will be needed, and the inventory management. It will be more effective for you and less costly. So you can create different ways to bring customers into your business. And with the pull, basically there's more precision as far as production goes. there's actual consumption instead of just trying to make more to try to see where you can sell it and just keep whatever you can sell. Then you have to manage smaller lots. That means that you improve your cash flow as well. You eliminate unnecessary waste, or you reduce your waste. And then your management, it's focused on all these pieces together that are better managed with a better communication system. So you're not spending time just trying to push everything you have, having to resolve all these nightmare of logistics when you have to push. But instead, you're moving things more efficiently. Things are selling in a better flow, and basically what you're doing is you're focusing on a better process and creating a better process for your business. Okay, so we have some final considerations, and it all depends on the industry and also the cultural differences that there are, whether you want to have an e-commerce or whether you want to be part of a marketplace. And a few examples I wanted to mention, for instance, is how disruptive the digital marketing and the online marketing and the actual online internet space has changed things for many industries that have been the same way for many years. For instance, the airplane tickets, how there's been new sites for some time now where they are comparing pricing from different airlines, to the point where some airlines are not comfortable doing that because they're not winning that battle, and they have pulled their tickets from those spaces and selling them directly on their own e-commerce site. Okay, so that's an example of an industry where for some the airline flights or the tickets are working better selling from a standpoint from an e-commerce instead of being in a marketplace where they can be compared with other ones easily. And that seems to be the trend on some of those companies. Plus, they don't have to pay fees for selling, to the distributor, in this case, in marketplace places. Another good example I'd like to point out is Airbnb. Airbnb has changed completely disrupt the way of booking a place to stay. Okay, you can book, you can rent a couch to sleep on the night, or to rent a room or a whole house. You can rent a boat and sleep in it too, and be in places where it wouldn't be possible for anybody to access if you would just have the traditional way of doing our vacations. And it's changed things in a number of ways. The important part here is to realize that the internet gives us an opportunity to be in a space and compete with big brands and with bigger companies. And sometimes being small is not necessarily a bad thing, because it might give us an opportunity to quickly react to the market trends and the consumer changes in behavior, which is a lot harder for many big companies to do. Okay, so I just wanted you to keep perspective of that as something that it can be beneficial for you. Now, in some places, marketplaces work better than e-commerce. For some products, it's better to have an e-commerce than marketplace. We know that in Asia, marketplaces are just the way to do it. Customers, people, they just go there and buy stuff from there, just like going to the mall, and they just seem to work better. Here in America, we have really great stories with marketplaces, like I mentioned before, Amazon, eBay, Etsy, and others. But in some cases, it's better to work from an online e-commerce perspective. One more thing I would like to mention as another final consideration before we end this class is where are your values. If you have different values, more ethical, and you have a niche of customers that like your product, but also like to know where the products are coming from, or how that's improving the world, taking care of the environment, taking care of people, and preserving cultures and doing different things. If your heart is in that space, then that can be something that you can use to your advantage and use it well in an e-commerce platform. Okay, so it all really depends on what your product is and what you're trying to accomplish and how you want to do your business. Well, this class tried to give you a quick perspective and a practical perspective on how products are being taken from the manufacturer side all the way to the customer's hand, and how internet is really being a game changer for everybody. Now it's up to you to do your research and find out how that works for your industry and what is working now at the time that you're trying to get into that space. If you're not there, what are you waiting for? There are no excuses. You can have now your own website, even make your own with very little knowledge. If you're willing to learn a little more, it just takes that. Or you can just find a partner that has a little more, that is a little more tech savvy, or you can just work with a professional or a consultant or a programmer, someone that can help you to do that. But you don't need as much investment as you used to in the past. This is a really great time. Again, one more time, this is a really great time to be in business, to do business, to be an entrepreneur, to learn from your customer, and then just kind of enjoy the thrill of and the excitement of doing good, doing something we have a passion for. No excuses. Internet is continuously is breaking down barriers for all of us. It just takes for us to take the opportunity and do something about that. Again, this is your community to continue improving your skills, improve your sales, join a community of like-minded people like you, and to help you even get started with your business. Okay, so if you have any comments or any suggestions, we'd love to hear it. Go to jlbmedia.com and fill out the comments form. You probably already know this by now. We have one more class to go, so we hope to see you there soon, and that we hope that you can put in practice everything you've learned so far to the advantage of your business. See you in the next class.